The Studio 3A name, in all forms and abbreviations, are the property of its owner, and its use does not imply endorsement of or opposition to any specific organization, product, or service. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed are the team's own. The material presented here is for entertainment and general information purposes only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Okay.
I'm on data, baby, no go put me for the corner. Girl, I want to take you to my mama. Girl, I want to love you till forever. Something about love, something about us. When it is we dance, when it is we don't love us. It will be like highway.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Jabari Media. We have a lot to cover here. There's been a lot going on in the news. So I'm just getting myself situated here. For people that haven't heard, we have a lot of tension going on between South Korea and also Donald Trump, which is absolutely hilarious because it just keeps on, no matter what, how much, which we're going to get into actually, that tweet that Donald Trump sent out, no matter how much he wants to posture that America is dominant still, you want to go and kidnap a leader, regardless on how people feel about this leader, shoot up, bomb in the middle of the night, kidnap a leader, and then threaten everybody, help Israel out with all these damn coups in the election of Latin America. It's just crazy how much this country is trying to stay dominant, seeking to stay on top, because all of this nonsense is just fearfulness that they will lose their influence, which they keep going the way they're going. They are going to lose their influences, and everybody is going to China, BRICS banks, everything. So let's talk about this real quick that's going on in South Korea. So if you did not hear, South Korea has a new president. They put that crazy guy, we covered the story. He was actually, it's interesting with him, the previous South Korean president that was put into prison. They locked him up because he wanted to do martial law, and his reasoning for doing martial law, which, mind you, South Korea, which they teach the history, Korea is still occupied by the United States. Occupied to the point that the United States gets the final say of what goes on. Occupied to the point that the United States does control the military, and when it comes to wartime, which they are still in with South Korea and North Korea, when it comes to wartime standards, they are still to be controlled by the United States, the military, their own military. So this president here, he is a new guy. And he is shaking up the airwaves. Lee Don Young, I believe it's his name, if I'm pronouncing it correct. He has proposed to have talks with North Korea. Now, for people that don't know, there isn't a peace treaty that has been signed in North Korea. North Korea has a stalemate, basically, with South Korea. It really was just North Korea versus America when you think about it. And they were using the Koreans as a proxy to stop communism, as what they were saying. But in all reality, what they really were doing was to colonize and to control, and that was their goal, resources, all that stuff. Every time South Korea has tried to make a sovereign stance, they have always been pushed back. It's different now because, like I said, the U.S.'s influence is not as strong and powerful as it used to be. I believe that Suarez is going to come on soon. He takes care of his father, so he's definitely going to be late. So here we are. The U.S. powers is dwindling. Donald Trump was very pissed off, so he just put a shot at this President Young. Oh, I'm going to decrease militarization, the militarization practices and stuff. Well, he already said that he didn't want to continue on, and you have already shaken your relationship with South Korea when you decided to start a war with Iran and running out of weapons equipment to defend. What did you do? You go and steal their THAAD missiles. And again, they don't need to go through South Korea's parliament or South Korea's president to ask permission because they are occupying and they control military apparatus of South Korea, basically. So they went in there, they said, hey, want those weapons? We're going to take those weapons. So the new president was like, oh, you guys are going to take away our weapon systems? You know, the ones that we bought, the ones that you told us to buy? You know, I find that's particularly crazy that you guys think you could just do that. So he's just been, he's just been very nonchalant with the president of the United States. He's like, oh, you want us to pay more and buy all this stuff? We'll get to it. You want us to help out with the war? Procedures and stuff. We'll get to that. I don't know. I don't think my country is really into fighting Iran, especially seeing how things are going in Iran, especially when you try to ignore how things are going in Iran and say that, oh, we're winning. We are winning. So it makes no sense. It makes no sense to them to continue to perpetuate this lie and continue to be, the great vassal state of the United States. They have their own issues. You know what I mean? They have, they want to become sovereign. They want to control their own country. They want to dictate economic growth, prosperity, and they want to unify with North Korea. Unification has always been on the line between both parties. Even when that crazy coup president, the crazy martial law president, that Joe Biden boy was in office, North Korea did sever ties. But North Korea, I'm pretty sure and optimistic that they will be open to be a part of the talks again. The last time they spoke was when progressive President Moon was in office. And that was around the time where, Kim Jong-un, he didn't really know Donald Trump at that time. He didn't really know what Trump was about. So Kim Jong-un attempted to, let's break bread. Let's talk. Let's have a conversation. And they tried that. And Trump just ruined everything. So Trump pretends that, he is the best friend of Kim Jong-un and all this nonsense. Like, oh, we have great relationships, when really they don't. The last DPRK statement when it came to the U.S., besides Kim Jong-un, which you can go and see the speeches online, where he literally talks about Zionism and he's against Israel and all this stuff. They made a statement in 2024 saying that the U.S. and DPRK relationship remains state to state. There is no bond, basically. There's no bond. It's just state to state relations. If I need to speak to y'all about things, I will speak to you about things. If you need to speak to me about things, I know it's going to be some crazy stuff you're going to ask me for. I'm going to say no, but it's fine. Look, state to state relationship. So I am looking forward, in closing on this subject, I am looking forward to seeing them talk. I am looking forward to seeing them sign a peace treaty to end the war, and I'm looking forward to them doing what they have always been talking about doing, and that is reunification. Korea will be one again. Now we don't know what kind of economic system, what kind of leadership Korea will be under. We don't know what will be Korea in the future when they become unified. But throughout the history, no matter what the Western media tries to say, they have always pursued unification. Even when I was at Howard University for People's Congress, this was like in the 2010s, I believe 2016, something like that. I met the Democratic Progressive Party of South Korea of members. There was a few of them there. And there was also North Koreans there as well too. And they did a workshop and they talked about unification. Before that, they was trying to unify during the Seoul Olympics. There's always, that's why the North Koreans were there at the Seoul Olympics. There's always gestures that they try to make to unify. And it always gets knocked down by the United States. So that's just a food for thought for people that don't know. And in the words of Biggie, now you know. I got a text message from Alex Suarez. He'll be here soon. He'll be here. Like I said, I knew it was running behind, so I was like, no biggie, bro. Now let's go to the next story. This is a huge historic win for Angie Nixon. Let's go right to it. She is running for Senate. Now, when Angie Nixon first, when she is pro a lot of things. I am pro. She's a DSA candidate. She was talking about Medicare for all, and also mentioned she's not going to be supporting Hakeem Jeffries, which automatically, Hakeem Jeffries is another created character. He was very radical, and they were able to put money in his pocket to make him change his positions, just like Van Jones. So now he's just a character, a creature of the Democratic Party, just like what Ocasio-Cortez is showing herself to be as well, too. These are the new generations of establishment. They will become, sorry to tell you this, Ocasio-Cortez will become an establishment Democrat sooner or later, if not already, when she denounced Medicaid for all and denouncing any of the woke, what they call woke one ideology that pivot them, got them big, got them famous, got people talking about them in the first place. They wouldn't even be mentioned if it wasn't for that. But here we are. So Angie Nixon is pro reparations. Angie Nixon is pro-Palestine. Angie Nixon is anti-Zionist. She had a speech one time that I saw her do where there were her own colleagues saying that all Palestinians must die, while she was trying to show sympathy to the Palestinians in her speech. She's all around, from my understanding, pretty decent person. She running for Senate, and she literally scared the hell out of these elites because she won in Florida for the nominee. She won the nominee in Florida. Now she also has a Republican running. You know what I mean? But we're going to see how that goes because, of course, for Florida's a red state. This is also a huge election because for governor, Ron DeSantis is no longer running. So who's going to take Ron DeSantis' seat? This seat that she's going for, it used to be Marco Rubio's seat before, he got into the Trump administration. So, this is a very huge win for DSA. Now, just like Shama Shawant, which I mentioned on the Willie Bragg show, I felt like the DSA dropped the ball for not endorsing her. Did not endorse Angie Nixon as well. I don't know what's going on. Y'all need to go and ask the DSA, what are y'all doing? I'm glad you're winning. Good. This is a first step. This isn't the absolute. This is just a first step. I'm glad you are winning. But what in the hell are y'all doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Why couldn't you nominate Angie Nixon? Why? What are you doing? What is the problem? This is my show, so I'm a cuss. Just to brace you. What the fuck is the problem? Seriously. She's the perfect candidate right now. And y'all couldn't get her endorsement. You couldn't push Shama Shawan. What's going on? These strong women are setting the standard of what needs to happen. And y'all, what? You're afraid of the Democrats? Fuck the Democrats. Fuck how they feel. Fuck their feelings. Fuck their feelings. Okay? Because they don't care about us. They don't care about our feelings. Just like the Republicans. They don't care about our feelings. They don't care about what we want as a people. So fuck their feelings. Get a DSA. All this winning. You need to be more bolder. You need to be more stronger. You got to. If you're going to win like this, you need to take over the party. You need to take over the Democrats. But that's not going to happen. I know. I understand. What I'm saying is very radical, very, very crazy. That's why I'm a socialist. I believe in destroying the whole system and restarting it with working people, letting working people have self-determination and economic growth within this country the way that we decide that we want to do things without the oligarchs. You know, the oligarchs will be the oppressed. You know, the ones that have to bend the knee to the working class, take the mean of productions. You know, that's what I'm for. And you ain't going to get that with the Democrats. But this is a good step to have the DSA members like this, like Shama Shawan, like Angie Nixon. When? Shama Shawan, I hope she runs again. And when I talk to her, again, I'm going to tell her that too. Run again. Run again. Good job. Good job. Piss off some rich people. That's what I like. That's what I like to see. Next story. Let's get into what's going on in the West Bank again, real quick. I believe his name is Louis Radid. Louis Radid is an American Palestinian. The landlord of one of the homes besieged by Israeli settlers for over a week arrived at his parents' house. He was a landlord, and one of his houses that he rents out in the West Bank, I did not know this part, was taken by Israelis. The Israelis in the West Bank are being renegades, terrorists, just like they're doing in Gaza and Lebanon. You know, it's not really nothing new, but West Bank doesn't really get that much coverage. The reason why the West Bank does not get that much coverage, because with Gaza, the Zionists use Hamas as the excuse. With Lebanon, the Zionist uses Hezbollah as the excuse. With Yemen, the Zionist uses Ansar Allah as an excuse. With Iran, you know, the IRGC. Let me make sure I name them all. What they have in busy Syria, the IRGC uses rebels. You know, the ones that are still trying to fight and keep their land and fight sectarianism that's happening right now, the genocide, the ethnic cleansing of Alawite and Christians and Druze by Jelani, who is the coup president, basically. He's the one that took power after Assad was ousted, which is a whole other thing, because definitely Russia, I do blame Russia for that as well too. But anyway, that's a whole nother story, not what I'm going to cover today. But Louis Radid is a Palestinian American. Now, Louis Radid's story, because he's basically in the West Bank to try to protect his father's house from being raided. And if you watch the videos, the Zionists are different, man. They don't care. You are on national TV. CNN covered this story. CNN covered this story. You're on national TV being shown as being a crazy terroristic entity in the West Bank. You killed over 80 people. That's numbers. I'm pretty sure more than that. You killed over 80 people. You are still in all these homes. This was going on before I was born, by the way. We're just catching up for people that don't know. You did all these things, and you do it boldly even more while you're on TV, chasing journalists, detaining and kidnapping politicians like Ro Khanna, to the point that the IDF came over and then they detained him too. You're like, bro, we can't. What are you doing? You're detaining politicians now. So what's going on? Like, and then the Americans, the Americans. I don't know who was doing whistleblowing. Well, not even whistleblowing, but apparently the U.S. government wants them to apologize for what's going on in the West Bank. They don't have a standing over excuse that they can use in the West Bank, even though all those other excuses are stupid. So when you read all those things all those entities that I just mentioned are resistance organizations. You know what I mean? The resistance organization. So it doesn't matter at all. It does not matter. Those are resistance organizations. And who are they resisting? Zionism, occupation. You know what I mean? They're not terrorists. But the media here wants to call them terrorists. So they're on the terrorist watch list, blah, blah, blah. The KKK never been on the terrorist watch list. Why should I take the terrorist watch list seriously when they can't even put the KKK on the terrorist watch list? So this man is trying so hard to keep his father's house, who lives in the West Bank. And they are just surrounding him. It's a lot of people that are outside, dude. It's freaking scary. They want the house. They're doing everything they can. Everything they can. Here's a quote. I should be able to go to my home freely anytime I want, he said. It is a frustration and a nightmare for the entire family. Yeah, imagine that. Imagine that. You worked hard. You did everything right. Everything right. Bought a house, raised a family. Now people are trying to come to your house, take your house, put your house by force on the market. So some person from Brooklyn, I don't even know if they're going to be from Brooklyn, from America, maybe from Poland, maybe from Russia, some rando that has Jewish heritage, who's a Zionist. This is the issue. Zionism. Who's a Zionist is going to take your house that's been in your family for generations. Ain't that crazy? That is just absolutely nuts and unacceptable. That's been going on before we were born. And that's been going on before, like when my grandmother was a teenager. It's been over 70 years. Why does this story, and this is not even me, like, questioning why does he get the spotlight? I'm glad that they are getting the spotlight. But why now? After 70, you know how many Americans have been murdered by Israelis? You know how many Americans have been killed by Israelis? Detained, arrested, killed, tortured. Shit, there was one American that was ran over by a bulldozer. Do you know how many? And the U.S. just looks the other way. The media looks the other way. they may write an article about it, but it'll be one of those articles that everybody forgets about because it came out at a certain time, and then they went on and started covering other things, so that story got buried within their catalog. So you know, just I just want people to understand, like, because I don't get it. I really don't. Why of all this time? Why all this time, dude? All of a sudden, they want to cover this. I'm just skeptical. I'm just skeptical of that. That's what I'm skeptical about because I don't understand why. I don't get why they want to cover it now because they have ignored it for so long. They have literally ignored the West Bank for so long. But now they want to cover the West Bank. I don't know, but I'm glad they are. I'm CNN. I'm glad you're doing something for once. Something for once. All right. Let me pull up the tweet from our esteemed fascist, genocidal, sexist, rapist sympathizer. Also, from what I'm hearing, the actual rapist, Donald Trump made a quote. He made a tweet on Iran. Let me see. D-Day economic. Let me pull it up. Okay. Economic tweet. Okay. Oh, actually, I have it on my phone, so let me pull it up on my phone. Actually. Yep. So this is crazy, guys. What I'm about to show y'all. If you haven't already seen this, prepare to just be like, what? Like it's okay. It popped up. So let's get that open. Let's get that off. All right. Let's add this. Again, please like, share, and subscribe. We are trying to get the ball officially rolling here on the YouTube. Thank you all so much that have been paying attention to the news coverage that has been going on the social media platforms. We are closing in to 3,000. We're closing in the 3,000 followers, which I'm excited about for the Instagram page. And we are halfway near to 4,000 followers for the just wait for this to load because apparently it's not. I hate. Bear with me, guys. You know, one day we will get somebody to produce for us. But as of right now, it's not happening. All right, let's get this open. Click on it. What you got for me? Okay, there we go. All right. No. Make it big again. Make it big. Okay, let's go. No one has given. Guys, this is crazy. This is crazy. No one has given the Islamic Republic of Iran a greater opportunity to make a deal than me. That's a lie because they already had a deal with Obama that was okay with, that you destroyed. You know, it was one of the decent things that I agreed with Obama. But, you know, you had to come in and be an orange dodo. Anyway, tragically for them, they have failed to take it. Therefore, today I am announcing the most crushing economic operation ever taken against any country. This will be economic warfare and isolation on an unprecedented scale. Their navy is gone. That's a lie. Their air force is destroyed. They don't need an air force when they have hypersonic missiles out the yayo. Like this is modern warfare. They don't need jets. They don't need what was it? Hangars. They don't need hangars and all that stuff. You know what the hanger is? That hypersonic missile going Mark 5 on your ass. Anyway, Navy's gone. Air Force is destroyed. The military factories are now rubble. That's a lie. That's not what your American news is reporting. They are actually reporting the total opposite. Their currency is worthless. Not true. Their country is hanging by a thread. Now we can say probably because of economic reasons they are taking a hit with keeping the Strait of Hormuz so restricted. But they need to make an example. And from my understanding, they are well enough making the damn example. Today I am also announcing that any country that allows this financial institution, business, airport, or government entities to provide a type of lifeline to Iran will itself face tremendous economic consequences. Oil smuggling, swap lines, cash transfers, exchange houses, ship registries, front companies. It's all to stop now. You know who you are. This will be an economic D-Day, and we need all of our allies to stand with the United States of America, isolate and defeat the Iran threat. These manics are on the rope. No, they're not. You are on the rope. You're acting manic, and these historic measures will cripple them in their ability to project terror worldwide. You are projecting terror worldwide, President Donald Trump. Iran will never have a nuclear weapon. They don't want one. Thank you for your attention on this matter, President Donald Trump. This is the closest to defeat that the President of the United States, the Trump regime, will admit. This is an admission to defeat. Now, why do I say this is the admission to defeat? Because if they were actually winning, we will see them winning. But what we're seeing is all their bases being pushed back, destroyed, to the point that they are moving their military into hotels. Then Iran finds out which hotels they're in. That gets got. They're retreating the Navy. You heard what happened with the Abraham Lincoln. You heard about that, right? And then DC, not then have them in their place. So that's going to be a debacle with that. Stay tuned. They're being pushed into the Indian Sea and freaking out because now Iran's like, I'm about to bomb the crap out of where y'all at in the Indian Sea. Now, in a response to this, Iran is saying, I might hit up your bases, your American bases in Europe. So now Europe's freaking out like, oh my God, if you guys attack us, then we're going to do something in response. NATO is like, oh my God, they're going to attack us. Here's my issue with NATO and their hypocrisy. Turkey just got threatened by Israel. Israel did a preemptive strike to stop them from entering the country of Syria. That's a NATO ally. So you're okay with Israel threatening, attacking one of your NATO allies. But once a brown nation that got smoked like Iran says, hey, if you guys keep helping out these Americans, our hypersonic missiles can reach Europe too. And it's fair game because just like the American bases that got destroyed in the Middle East, they're going to destroy those too. Why? Because they're being used to harm their people. This is defense. Y'all want to talk about defense all the time with Russia. Baby, you in it with Iran. You in it with Iran. And you know what's going to stop Iran? That orange man. Take his ass to the Hague. Take his ass and Bibi Netanyahu to the Hague. Get this man prosecuted for war crimes. That's what's going to stop this. And I know, America's not going to stop. America has to be defeated, which is happening. My country has to suffer. Why? Because we got the fucking idiots in office. Just to be point blank serious. These dumb motherfuckers are in office, and they are destroying our economic growth here. Paycheck by paycheck. I don't even want to go into detail about how much I struggle myself. So if the way I'm struggling, I know it's 10 times worse for somebody else. And these dumb fucks want to overlook what their people are going through and still want to bomb and kill people overseas over stupid excuses. Very dumb excuses. They want to bomb and kill people overseas with lies. So yeah, America has to fall. What's up, Alex Suarez? America has to be defeated.
I can't talk right now. I'll be right back.
Okay. America has to be embarrassed, just like what happened with the UK, just like what happened to Rome, just like what happened to Xerxes.
Hey, I'm back. I had a family situation. Like I texted you, I had to come on late today.
Yeah, no problem, bro. No problem. I figured. Right now we're talking about the tweet here that Trump gave out saying that he's going to make a economic D-Day.
I thought he only used Truth Social now, so he's back on Twitter. I wasn't paying attention.
No, it's Truth Social. It's Truth Social.
Oh yeah. Because even though, like, even when Elon was part of his cabinet and Elon took over Twitter, he still didn't join Twitter again. He was just too stubborn,
way too stubborn. Now he's going back to the usual American paper tiger threat. I'm going to tariff and sanction anyone that's helping Iran. They did that before and it didn't work out. Newsflash. I'm going to sanction and destroy economies that are helping out Iran. You have done that with China and Russia. Did
you get the video I sent you, by the way, of one of the flotilla survivors that was tortured, an American? She did an interview with this Marxist guy. He's the one that coined the phrase Epstein class. I sent you a video on I think on Instagram where she was exposing how the Israelis tortured her when she was on the flotilla.
Send me that in the text message. My phone's about to die.
Yeah, maybe we can show that next show, or maybe we can get her come on. We probably know some same people as her. But she's a Latina. I believe her last name is Martinez, but she goes by Maya Maria or something like that. But her name is Maria Martinez or something. But yeah, she's a U.S. citizen, and she was tortured. And she talks about the sadism of the Zionists. That's something we should show, I think, next time. What's being exposed from what happened there.
Is this the case into why Erdogan is looking? I wonder if this is the case to why Erdogan, who is the president of Turkey, is looking to arrest Bibi Netanyahu for. Because
she's an American citizen. It has nothing to do with Turkey. As a matter of fact, Turkey in the last flotilla were the last to help because the Greeks put them to shame. The Greeks sent their navy to accompany the flotilla, and the Turks were still ignoring the flotilla. And finally, the Greeks were more pro-Palestine than the Turks. And then they had to give in and send some navy to accompany them. But I believe she was part of the last flotilla, and now she's exposing how she was tortured and everything. Oh, and she said that when they hit her too hard because it just knocked her out, and it was no fun for them. They like for people to stay awake and to suffer. So they couldn't get shit from her because every time they hit her, they just knocked her out. She's not a big person, But they knew she was a U.S. citizen in the beginning. They were like, what are you doing here? You're a U.S. citizen. And they went ahead and proceeded to torture anyways because Trump gave carte blanche for the Netanyahu regime to torture these people in the dungeons.
Yep. And Erdogan did mention that he wants to arrest Bibi Netanyahu for torturing the flotilla members.
Well, there was some Turks on board, but the government didn't support them this time. I consider Erdogan a hypocrite on this subject. He's continuing to do business with Israel, just like the Emiratis.
Well, now he looks stupid. Now he looks stupid. Because what happened? They striked at him. They striked at them in Syria to prevent them from entering the country.
Well, yeah, I mean the Syrian regime is such a sellout that they're willing to cave into the Israelis over the Turks, even though the Turks are also powerful. The Turks are part of NATO. But the Turks don't have nuclear weapons, Regardless, the Syrian regime have completely capitulated to Israel. Israel told them to stop talking to Erdogan, and they're listening. They're just a total puppet of Israel now. If they weren't a puppet of Turkey at the beginning, now they're a puppet of Israel.
Yeah. And now Iran, they fully liberated the American presence in the seas of the Middle East. So now they're forced to at bases in India and also trying to conduct some type of operation in bases in Europe around there. And now Iran is threatening to hit all that and also hit American assets in American business assets in the Middle East as well. So it looks like Iran is just looking to just fully push them all the way back to our continent. That's what
the United States never fulfills its treaty obligations with anybody, whether it's the native peoples for centuries or whether it was with the Iranians. The Iranians, I'm sure, expected the United States not to fulfill their end of the deal or the treaty, the peace treaty, the temporary peace treaty that they had with them. And Trump violated it immediately. Art of the Deal, give me a break. He didn't even write his own book named Art of the Deal. Trump is just a total fraud. His foreign policy is a fraud. He's under the Israeli sphere. His notion of America first is a joke. His own people are leaving him. You have Marjorie Taylor Greene. You have Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, and others. I'm not saying we unite with them, but they certainly are rebelling against the MAGA that's really Israel first that Trump represents.
Yeah, they're trying to fix capitalism. In this parts of capitalism, that's basically their goal. They want to bring back.
Well, the sailors. Trump said, "Okay, we'll let you return to the ports." I'm talking about on the USS. What's it, the USS Lincoln? That are trying to commit suicide, jumping overboard because they've been out for so long with no supplies. And Trump says, "Okay, we'll let you dock, but you need to sign a non-disclosure agreement. We need to give you a gag order." It's just like the USS Liberty. The survivors of the USS Liberty attacked deliberately by Israel to make look at the Egyptians did it. There were supposed to be no survivors. The sailors that survived, they gave them a gag order, and that was all the way back in 1967. So the influence of Israel goes back post-Kennedy assassination. And I wouldn't be surprised if Mossad was involved there because Kennedy was trying to, JFK was trying to stop the nuclear program that was just emerging at the time. And then later you had Pollack steal our nuclear secrets. Now they want to merge the CIA with the Mossad officially. And what happened to Pollack? He was finally pardoned by Trump. And then Huckabee, the U.S. ambassador to Israel, met with him in secret, and that was revealed, that was leaked out, that he was meeting with a traitor who was an American Jew, merely American Zionist with a Jewish background, that sold the nuclear secrets to Israel. When the Rosenbergs did it for the Soviets, they were executed. The wife probably had nothing to do with it. It's one of the few times a woman was executed in U.S. history. The other time was after the Civil War. It's very rare that a woman's executed. But they killed the Rosenbergs over that. And because it was Israel, not only that Pollack didn't get the death penalty, he was released.
Wow, that's crazy. They just keep allowing these favors, just letting them get away with all these things. And, they found out in France that there was a company named Blackcore. This just came out. I posted it on the thing. It's funny. No one cared. They was more into the other shit. But anyway, Blackcore is a company that is no longer existing by Israel because France found out they was using Blackcore to interfere in elections. To interfere in elections in Angola. To interfere in elections in New York.
They're interfering in elections in Latin America right now. Israel.
In Scotland.
Netanyahu even paid Trump to pardon the narco-terrorist Hernandez, so his party, him, could return to power in Honduras now. And he's running the show in Honduras from behind the scenes. The guy that's in power in Honduras, that's his puppet. So it's back to a narco regime once again. Noboa is a narco regime, U.S. citizen. The new president of Colombia is a U.S. citizen, another narco regime emerging there. And they're fighting the guerrillas. They're not fighting the guerrillas because they have drugs. The drugs are in the government now. Now the Petro stepped down. They're fighting the guerrillas because they're leftists, because they actually want to look out for the interests of the Colombian people and not the elite.
Right. And look at the hypocrisy. Look at the hypocrisy. Because when they found out that Russia companies, not even the government, had mean farms and all this stuff that was just making fun of Jesus, and also putting out pro Hillary Clinton material, stuff like that, they made such a big deal out of that, saying, oh, Russia's meddling in our elections, Russia's meddling in our elections. Now we have full proof that Israel is not only meddling in their elections, but meddling in Latin American elections,
and meddling in U.S. elections. And look at all
US
not just presidential, not just presidential. Almost the entire legislature, the Congress, the Senate, they're financed by AIPAC, which should be shut down. Not only should AIPAC, people demand AIPAC should be registered as a foreign agency. No, I say get AIPAC the hell out of the country. Don't register them as nothing.
Gotta go.
They're a corrupt, insidious organization that is helping to get rid of the little democracy we have left.
Literally.
And I want to actually go off on a tangent. I'm going to do a Chris Richards on you, because you remember when we used to have Chris Richards on, he would go off on tangents even more than me if such a thing was possible. But I got to do a Chris Richards on you because it's a fascinating history. We were talking earlier about a woman executed, right? There's a movie about this. I saw it. It was very good, very factual. I fact checked it. There was the first ever woman. I believe she was executed in 1866. It was the year after the Civil War, the first ever woman executed by the United States. And she actually was innocent. She was executed because she happened to be the mother of a Confederate. So one of the Confederates that got away, that was involved in the assassination, because there was multiple people that were tried for assassinating or being part of the plot to assassinate Lincoln. It wasn't just Booth. It was the actual one that was killed. He wasn't... Booth was never tried or executed because he got killed when he was trying to escape. But his compatriots were tried and executed. But there was the mother of one of them, because one of them got away. And they tried to pressure him. Are you still there? I don't see your camera. You there?
Still here.
Okay, yeah. So the mother of one of them, they were using her to pressure the son to give in, because he was on the run. He was one of the guys involved in killing Lincoln. He didn't believe they were going to kill his mother, and he stayed away, and they ended up executing her. And everybody knew she was innocent. She was just the mother of one of them. Yeah. And so what ended up happening was, later on, when the son finally surrendered out of shame that he caused his mother to be executed, they had a jury that was mixed with some Confederates in there, and they let him go. So in the end, he was freed, because they thought, okay, well, enough blood already. We killed the woman over this, just for being his mother. I'll be right back.
Wow, the things you don't know, right? Things you don't know. Let's see. Let's bring this up. First woman executed by the federal government after the Civil War, convicted of conspiracy and assassination of Abraham Lincoln. She was hung on July 7th, 1865 at an Arsenal Penitentiary in Washington, D.C. Her execution marked the first time a federal government carried out the death penalty on a woman. Kind of messed up that they get the person that wasn't involved. Not gonna lie. There's a lot about Lincoln that through the years I'm learning about. My perspective keeps shifting on this guy, but at the end of the day, you know what I mean, the abolitionists were correct in supporting him for abolitional purposes, but what they weren't correct on is putting in someone who was just as much ready to kill Native Americans and put them in reservations to steal land. He was very, very big on that. He did that on the side for people that don't know. So that's why he will always be a wishy-washy character to me, because no. And then the crazy part about Lincoln, we never got to see what exactly he would have done after the Civil War because he got assassinated. You know, I think the country would have been a lot more different, and we wouldn't have seen the destruction of the God, I can't even think right now. Can't even think of the era that came after. The Reconstruction era. Sorry, my brain just went blank for a second.
Hey, I'm back. I'm about to do a fact check on how many women have been executed in U.S. history. I think it's only like 2 or 3. One of them was the Rosenberg wife, and she had nothing to do with it either. It was just because her husband was a spy, apparently. But they wanted to send a message, you know.
Yeah, but what I was saying real quick, I was thinking like the crazy part about Lincoln is that we actually never got to see what he would have done after.
Oh, there's no doubt in my mind what he would have done. There's no doubt. There's no doubt in my mind. The thing is, Johnson completely listen. Vice President Johnson completely betrayed Lincoln's legacy. We know that. Yeah. It was almost exactly the same as the other Johnson, not Andrew Johnson, Lyndon Johnson, when he completely betrayed Kennedy's legacy and brought us into Vietnam. Yeah. So it was a complete reversal. Lincoln promised 3 acres and a mule to every single freed slave. He promised justice against the Confederates for what they had done. He let a few of the leaders, go into exile, but he said the ones that remain, they're going to be tried before revolutionary courts. He wanted to not only make an example out of them and give economic justice to freed slaves so they could stay in the South. He wanted to make sure that no type of slavery returned. And almost immediately when Johnson took over, they permitted indentured servitude of black people so they could claim that black people owed a debt to the former slave master and had to work for them for free. So they basically put him back in chains. And of course, they made slavery legal in prisons. He probably would have tried to reform that and reverse that part of the Constitution as well. Had Lincoln lived, it would have been a completely different history. The demographics of the country would be different. There would be a lot less black people in the North, for example. A lot of black people fled to the North because of terror in the South. The KKK probably would have never emerged. Yeah, the KKK would have never emerged either. I mean, a lot of people want to know, like, why is it if you're from New York and you're African American, you say y'all? It's because your grandparents were from the South. Most African Americans in the Northeast, their grandparents, their great grandparents, they came from the South, from the Carolinas, from Georgia, because they were the descendants of slaves that were escaping the terrorism. That's not that far back in our history. So I think it would have been a completely different history had Lincoln not been killed. I'm convinced of that. Mm-hmm. I had to do a book about it. Remember I did 2 books about hypotheticals? I did one called If Trotsky Won. And by the way, today's the anniversary of his death. He was fatally wounded yesterday and died today in 1940 in Mexico by a Stalinist agent, active coward, hit from behind. And he fought back too. Trotsky was tough. And he was already 60 then, young man hit him from behind. He fought like a motherfucker, bleeding from the head. And they caught the guy because Trotsky, even though he was alone with him, was able to yell out and catch the guy. He thought he was going to knock him unconscious. Trotsky was a strong guy. He was like 6 foot tall, big Russian Jewish guy. But anyways, what was I going to tell you? Oh yeah, I wrote a book called If Trotsky Won, another one called If Che Won. I might write a book called If Lincoln Won. And again, I'm not saying, and I've told you this before, I'm not saying that Lincoln was angelic. He had correspondence with Marx. He was a progressive, but he wasn't a socialist. He wouldn't be called a socialist today because he was very anti-Native American. Remember, he executed Native American people. So yeah, I'm not saying he was racist against Native Americans, but he felt threatened by them. He had animosity towards them. He didn't have animosity toward black people probably, but he certainly did towards Native Americans. He wasn't a full-on radical abolitionist either, but I think he really detested slavery. And I think had he stayed in power, would have been a different story. Just like Kennedy. If JFK had survived or was not, there was no coup against him, the Cold War probably would have ended a lot sooner. That's how history is. Certain people are taken out, certain things happen. Like, for example, had Lenin lived a little longer and made clear to the people he preferred Trotsky to Stalin, and if you know the history, he did prefer Trotsky to Stalin, then all the terrible injustices done by Stalin wouldn't have happened, and probably the Soviet Union would still be around today. The Soviet Union would probably still be around today. Had Lenin lived a little longer, had Trotsky taken over instead. I'm sure of that.
Yeah, he wrote a concern about Stalin before he died.
Yeah, that was his political testament.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. But the thing is, the political testament was suppressed by Stalin, and he couldn't come out on the radio. I've heard radio recordings of Lenin, by the way, so it wasn't that back far in history. You could still speak it on the radio back then. He wasn't well enough. He had a stroke, and he had an assassination attempt that made him sick. And so, like, you know, he couldn't come out on the radio and say, "Hey, this is real." So Stalin claimed that it was a fabrication. A lot of people believed him, and there not enough people believed, you know, Trotsky that was real. And so, had he been healthy enough to go on the radio and say, "No, I don't want Stalin in power anymore," and the whole public knew about it, the people, the Communist Party would have been forced to remove Stalin or be overthrown by other communists like Trotsky. And this is another thing: Trotsky was head of the military. And had a lot of power. That's why Stalin couldn't go after him at first. And Trotsky could have very easily, after Lenin's death, orchestrated a military coup against Stalin. He did it because he was an honorable man. He thought through debate, you know, through political debate and influence that he could, you know, overtake Stalin. But Stalin was a ruthless son of a bitch, you know. But I'm gonna look up right now.
While we're talking about him, I think this is a really, really, really good book that breaks down. This book just got into English. It was in Italian and Spanish originally for years.
Really?
So I do recommend people to check out this book. It goes through the history of Stalin and talks about the facts and also the propaganda. You know, a lot of good stuff and a lot of things that you have said, Alex, as well too, is definitely in this book in depth on his anti-Semitism issues and also his beef with Trotsky. So
what's it called?
It's called Stalin: History, Critique of a Black Legend.
So I don't know why they call him a black legend. It might have been because he was part of a group in Georgia. You know, he wasn't Russian; he was Georgian from the Caucasus. That was called, I believe, the Black Hand, and he was a bank robber. Basically, he stole money and sent it to the Soviets. And so he was part of like a gang called the Black Hand. So that's maybe why they call him the Black Legend. I don't know, but he was a gangster, you know, and you know. Was not Trotsky. Trotsky was an intellectual. I mean, he was also a fighter. He was head of the armed forces. If it came down to a fight, Trotsky would fight. But he actually had an intellect and had charisma. Stalin didn't know how to give a speech. Mm-hmm. Look at any speech he gives. You don't have to know Russian to know this speech was boring as hell. He had no passion in his voice. Like, he didn't have the charisma Trotsky did. But the thing is, the Russians were fed up with fighting. They didn't want another civil war. They were fed up with World War I and the Civil War that did happen just before that, and they kind of accepted things. Had Lenin lived a little bit longer and came on the radio and said, "No, I don't want Stalin in power," it would have been a whole different story. But unfortunately, that's what happened. His political testament got suppressed, and the rest is history. You know.
Yeah, I mean, look, it was bloody. It was very bad. It got into the point where, you know, even the Bolsheviks did a lot of bloody things, but it was in defense of the capitalist power. Capitalist power did a lot of bloody things. You know what I mean? That's why.
But I don't even think Stalin was a real Bolshevik, though. Stalin went after the original Bolsheviks, not just Trotsky. There's a lot of other lesser known ones. He killed every single original Bolshevik that helped stage the coup the revolution against the Tsar with Lenin. Every single one except for one exception, Alexandra. What was her name? Basically, she was an ambassador far away, and Stalin said, "Don't kill her; she's fine." But everybody else got killed. Zamenev, Kamenev. You know, all the original Bolsheviks, you know, they were killed actually before Trotsky, and the Moscow trials were witch trials. You know, they tortured them and made them confess to be agents of the Nazis or whatever. It's completely absurd. And then later, Trotsky was killed. Those trials were in the 1930s, and then by 1940, they sent an agent to Mexico to take him out. Yeah. It was from Spain, actually.
What did you want to get into? Because we do have 2 minutes. I have a hard lead.
Okay. I got you. I'm sorry I called in late, bro. You know, I'm dealing with situations still.
No, you're good. It happens. We'll continue on next Friday.
But the good thing is I'm working now. So, I mean, yes, it makes things a little more hectic, but hey, I got some money coming in, man. Yeah. It makes a good thing, right?
If we can change the time, we can change the time too.
Yeah, maybe we could push it to 5:30 because by then everything's calm. I mean, by 5:30 usually in the house, you know.
Definitely. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, but what you want me to finish it by saying something? You had a question for me?
Yeah, you were going in on.
Oh yeah, I was looking up how many women were executed. It's not giving me a clear answer because you know why? It's giving me since the Supreme Court reinstituted the death penalty in 1976. I don't want that. I want from when the U.S. was incepted. It's not giving me that answer either. It's giving me some colonial times, the 1600s. Basically, since the 1600s, there's been about 500 women that were executed. But you know, a lot of them were killed in the Salem witch trials. That's when the United States was still a British colony. I want to know when from the U.S. started. I have to do more research. But like since a total of 18 women since 1976 were executed, so not a lot, since it was made legal again. But back in 1866, they executed a woman just for being the mother of a Confederate, you know, because they were trying to pressure him to give in. You know, he was on the run because he was one of the guys involved in killing Lincoln. So, but you know, like they didn't mind being ruthless against the Confederates that killed Lincoln, but then the Confederates that had slaves, they let a lot of them go. They let them keep their guns, and then they formed the paramilitary terrorist forces known as the KKK. And the KKK killed Malcolm X's father. I mean, Malcolm X became the revolutionary that he was, not just because his parents were Garveyites, but because of the oppression of the state, taking him away from his brothers and sisters, his mother, letting his father get killed, taking the life insurance away, claiming his father killed himself. Let me end on that. That's how ridiculous it was. Like literally, like his father's head was bashed in. They threw him in front of a train, and they claim he managed to like try to kill himself that way. Like it was just so absurd. So they took all the insurance money, destroyed his family. How's that not going to make a revolutionary? That's going to either make you a criminal or a revolutionary. And at first they made him a criminal. Then he got reformed and became a revolutionary. So this repression, it also can make us men become revolutionaries, man. And so, you know, I haven't had anything that extreme happen in my family, but I've had some injustices. As you know, I wrote a book about it recently. And so, you know, that's what I want to end on, that, yes, this history is terrible. Yes, changes could have been made, but we have to deal with it as men, as human beings, as revolutionaries, and fight back against this system and offer a new system.
Well, Suarez, thank you, bro, for coming on, and we'll be back, guys, next week. We should have a guest, working on a few guests.
Yeah, that'll be great.
So definitely, please.
You know me, bro. I'll be doing my karaoke tonight, man. You know that. I'm gonna be having a good time. Live life while you can.
Yeah, live life while you can, especially in this fashion system. Do what you can.
Exactly.
All
get
right,
that
brother.
money, but get back to the cause too. If you get enough, get back to the cause too, right?
Get back to the cause. Yep. Have a good one, brother. Have a good one, everybody on the airwaves.
Blank period, yeah. On my black, brown, and indigenous. Gotta holler if you really feeling this. Gotta holler if you really real enough. Other rappers is delirious. Yeah, it's really that serious. Better holler if you really feeling me. I gotta keep it 100, ayy. If you don't like it, then fuck it, ayy. We gonna win in the end, yeah. We gonna live in abundance. I gotta keep it 100, ayy. If you don't like it, then fuck it, ayy. We gonna win in the end, yeah. We gonna. I gotta keep it 100. We gotta stop all the stunting. You know we coming from nothing. Yo, you talking about money, you bluffing. We gotta do something different. We gotta change how we live in. We gotta do better for women. We gotta do better for children. We gotta listen to victims, whether Jewish or Muslim or Christian. It doesn't matter your religion. You gotta stand against the system, or else you just another villain. How you just sitting there chilling?